This is the second video to help applied physics students to write experiment-based final year project reports. In this video, we will look at the structure of an experiment-based final year project report. The structure of experiment-based reports is similar to published articles, with 5 conventional sections: Introduction, Literature Review, Method, Results and Discussion. However, the literature review may be included in the introduction, or it may be a separate section. Similarly, the results and discussion may be together in one section or may be separate sections. Your title is also important. A title should communicate the main focus of your report. Titles are usually noun phrases, not sentences or questions. Your title should be concise. It should catch the reader's attention and be clear and interesting for expert and non-specialist readers. You should consider revising it after your report is finished. Now we will consider the abstract. The abstract provides a short summary of the content of your research paper and hopefully makes the reader want to read further. It should be self-contained so that it can be understood without reading the rest of the report. Because it's a summary of the whole report, it's usually written last. It should focus on your research process and your findings. It should be clear and concise and in general not include specialist terminology. Example contents are a summary of the problem or phenomenon being investigated and the rationale for the investigation, followed by a brief description of the research design and process. Then, a short summary of the key data and a summary of the main findings. This is followed by a brief explanation of the significance of the project and an overview of possible limitations of project. Finally, give any significant recommendations for future work. Now, we will move on to the introduction. The introduction has a key role in providing a background for the research. You should revisit it after the report is complete and revisit it to ensure it is relevant to the rest of the work in terms of logic, content and flow. The main contents of the introduction are: Number 1. Information about the background and motivations, including the importance and necessity of the study. 2. Definitions of technical terms and specialist terminology used in the paper. 3. A brief description of previous research and existing theories to show that your experiment will contribute something to the field. 4. The objective or objectives of the study and the research questions and hypotheses and how they will be achieved. 5. Finally, an overview of the report, identifying the sections of the report and what they will cover. Now we will consider the literature review. This may be a separate section or be included in the introduction. In it, you should outline relevant research to provide background information for your own research topic. In an experiment-based final year project report, you should outline the basic properties of materials used and the fundamental principles underpinning the procedures adopted. You should give theoretical details of materials, processes, and project motivations. The next section is methodology. In the methodology section, you describe your research design and explain how you are going to apply it. You need to justify your approach and give enough details so that anyone interested in your study can replicate it. This includes all the essential details of the research design, the instruments and materials used, and the methods of analysis. Clear explanations means the reliability and generalizability of the findings from your project can be maximized and your readers can be convinced of the rigor of your research design and methods. The results and discussion section is the most important section of your report, as this is where you present your findings and explain their significance. The main purpose of writing up your results section is to inform your readers about what you observed and found during the research process. you will need to present your key findings in a factual, strategic, and systematic manner so that they provide a framework for your discussion section. In the discussion, you need to refer to your results, interpret what they mean, and make claims about your findings, that is, explain to the reader how you believe your findings can be understood and interpreted. Approaches to presenting the findings and reporting on their implications vary across departments. In some, the results and discussion sections are presented independently, while others present the results and analyze their implications within the same chapter. In either approach, the discussion ends with an outline of the practical implications of the research and an acknowledgement of possible limitations. The following guiding principles are useful to understand how you can develop and organize information in this important section. First, make sure you understand your data thoroughly so that you can select aspects of your data set that answer your research questions and help explain your hypotheses. You can organize the description of the results by data group, by analytical method, or by key findings. Whichever organization method you choose, you should report the most important findings first. You should present your results in a clear and logical manner using appropriate data representation techniques, for example graphs, charts, tables, etc., to synthesize and clearly show the key results. You should provide a brief textual description and caption for each dataset provided. Use appropriate headings that are clearly linked to your objectives to create a logical and coherent report. This will allow you to show how your data answers your research questions and fulfills the objectives of your research. Remember, you should only focus on your own results. Do not make any statements that cannot be substantiated by results from your research. Finally, outline the limitations of your research and, if possible, point out how the limitations could have affected any results. The strength of your conclusion, the next section, will depend on how the discussion is developed. If each subsection in the discussion clearly develops one main aspect, it makes it easier for you to extract these points and form your conclusion. Now we come to the conclusion. The conclusion shows how the different themes of your research are connected, but emphasizes the main themes and summarizes the contribution of your research. You should point out how your research has succeeded in addressing the major objectives of the research outlined in the introduction, but do not introduce any new ideas. Only focus on what you have discussed in the previous section. You should avoid repeating the points mentioned in the analysis and discussion sections in the same language. They can be summarized, but not repeated in full. Explain how your research has contributed to the field. It may have added to existing research or altered existing perspectives. Outline how you have answered all the questions raised in your introduction. There are two main ways to organize your points. One is first summary of findings, then conclusions and contributions, followed by suggestions for further research. The second is first discussion of problems and then implications for existing theory and practice, and finally recommendations for implementation. That completes the main body of your report. It is followed by the list of references. Make sure that you follow the required citation format according to your departmental recommendations. And ensure that your in-text and end-of-text entries match exactly. Appendices are for supplementary material that the reader will find useful to understand the development of your project. If you have large amounts of raw data, put them in the appendices. Give the appendices informative titles so it is clear what is in them. You should refer the reader to relevant appendices in the text of your report. This completes the video on the sections of your final year project report.